Celebration P1013/68, take 1.
Good evening. Tonight we celebrate the life of Sam Rabin, a man who has been, amazingly, artist, Olympic wrestler, operatic singer, sculptor, film actor and teacher, and has done each with great distinction. So how is it that most of us have not even heard of Sam Rabin? Well, one reason is that he's exceedingly modest and has rarely allowed any fuss to be made over his achievements. Only now, in his 83rd year, has he agreed to a retrospective exhibition. It opened in Dulwich, to great acclaim from the critics, and is currently on view in the town of his birth, Salford, at the City Art Gallery until May the 26th.
I was a student of Sam's years ago, and to tell you the truth, this is the first time, apart from Dulwich, that I've seen a lot of his work. The only work I ever saw of his was over my shoulder, on my drawings. I came down from Manchester, and you can imagine I was very afraid of what I'd meet in London, and went with great apprehension to my first life class, and found this giant of a man with a Manchester accent, an ex-wrestler, a singer with Covent Garden Opera Company, sitting next to me and teaching me how to draw like nobody has before or since.
The fact that Sam Rabin's work has rarely been seen is undoubtedly due to his innate modesty and personal reticence. Only now, at the age of 83, has he finally agreed to an exhibition.
I wanted people to like my drawing because the drawings were good, you see, and I wouldn't have anything to do with the business side of selling things. I could have had agents. Oh, yes.
You've never had an agent?
No, several of them tried contacting me over the years, but I always ignored them. I didn't want it.
While virtually unknown here, in France he is regarded as one of the great figure draftsmen.
He's been likened to Degas. Degas found in the ballet the lighting on the stage, the movement of the dancers, the reflections, those things which interested him and drew him to paint them. And so Sam has found a similar element in the sporting context.
His subject has very much acted against him as far as his career is concerned. Boxing is very much an untopical and unfashionable subject today, but really we shouldn't see Rabin's pictures as purely boxing pictures. They are much more than that.
You It's only when people talk to me about brutality or anything like that, I say, well, what about that man with nails through his hands and feet? I suppose that's quite pleasant, you see. Can you imagine anything more brutal than a man with nails through his hands and feet, you see, on a cross? And that's accepted, you see. But I accept it because of the way in which it's painted or drawn, you see. My view is not that it's a man hanging on a cross with nails through his hands and feet. It's a different matter altogether.
Sam is very much an artist, struggling with the perfection of his pictures. He cannot be associated with any particular movement or group, and in that sense it's rather difficult to classify or categorize his work. We must remember that he was trained by a Frenchman, that he studied in Paris, and that his folks came from Russia.
It was to Salford that the young Jacob Rabinovich fled from Vitebsk under threat of conscription. A talented hatter who once made caps for Rasputin, he soon found work and within a few months had the money to send for his wife Sarah and baby son Joseph.
He went to Manchester because he had a relative there. He got a post almost immediately, a job almost immediately, in quite a good firm in Manchester, making hats, you see. My brother used to come in with a couple of friends of his and they'd sit round a table drawing. And my job was to give them a fresh piece of paper when they needed it, you see. Then gradually I was influenced and I began to draw, and gradually it got hold of me, you see. About that time, the corporation introduced a new rule by which if whilst you were still at school, you seemed to show some interest and ability in drawing, you were allowed to go to the art school full time. And your general education was continued with a visiting teacher, 2 or 3 times a week, just for a couple of hours. Well, I was the youngest ever to be allowed. I was 11. That's when I started, and I was so fortunate in having a teacher like Ballet there at the time. He was marvellous.
Was he good with his pencil or with paint?
Oh, he was a draftsman with pencil, yes. Oh, yes. He was brilliant. I was very lucky to have him as a teacher.
Why?
Because he didn't talk, he made a demonstration and you understood everything. He was trying to tell you see. Oh, yes. I can see the movement he went for immediately, you see. I understand the construction of the figure, what happens when a certain area of the figure goes one way and what happens to the other part of the figure.
It's quite interesting. Do you see the one hanging above it?
Yes.
There's a tremendous similarity.
Well, he taught you to concentrate on the movement of the figure and the construction of the figure, you see. I'm indebted to Valet's teaching enormously. Oh, yes. Drawing was an obsession with me, yes. And my parents, of course, they were delighted and gave me every help they could, you see. And when I'd been at Manchester for about 3 years, and 2 of those years spent with Ballet, I got into the Slade School, you see, yes. And I was fortunate there too, because it was one of the finest periods of the Slade under Professor Tonks, and it was famous then. And I was there for 3 years. My father, although he wasn't wealthy at all at the time, he used to spend a lot of money buying gramophone records by all the great singers, Caruso, Gili, Tito Ruffo. And when they weren't in the house, I used to play them all by myself, you see. And I became fascinated with singing. And someone I used to make a noise myself sometimes, and somebody who was musical heard me singing, and he encouraged me to get some singing lessons, you see. And then somebody told them on the BBC, and I sang on the radio to my parents' absolute delight. They used to listen to me. 2 or 3 programs I sang in, you see. And before I went into the army, I'd got to know the recording manager of the Columbia Gramophone Company. And the next thing I heard from him was he'd spoken to Victor de Salvator, who was Toscanini's successor in Milan. He told him about me, and Victor de Salvator at that time was giving a series of concerts in England, you see. And this man from the Columbia got in touch with him, and it was arranged, without my knowing, that I should sing to de Salvator in the Albert Hall. You can imagine I was very excited by it. As soon as I'd finished, I went out to the Albert Hall, and I was walking down the street, and my peer came rushing after me in a terribly excited state. She said, "De Salvator wants to meet you." So I was amazed, and I went back with her, and he saw me coming down the corridor finally, and he waved his arm and said, "Bella voce, bella voce." And I could have gone to Milan, but perhaps I was rather stupid, I don't know. My ambition was to be the strongest man the world had ever known, you see. And to my father's horror, he used to come into the bathroom in the morning, and there was I doing exercises, you see.
So did you used to go to a gym or anything to work out?
I went to the YMCA, and that's how I became acquainted with wrestling, because when I went there, I noticed 2 men wrestling, you see, and I got to know them. And one of them was a miner by profession, and of course in Lancashire at that time, they used to do a lot of wrestling, you know, for money too, among themselves, you see. And this man, the one I got to know particularly, he was a fine wrestler, and he began to teach me wrestling, you see. And that was my first beginning in wrestling, you see.
Sam won a bronze medal for wrestling. And this is the only picture I find in all his work that actually has a sense of brutality about it. The broken nose, the cauliflower ears, the heavy features.
Do you think he could have done them if he hadn't have been a boxer and a wrestler?
I doubt it.
Why?
Well, I think his sporting career introduced him to elements of sport which the person who doesn't in fact indulge in sport never experiences.
Well, I had done several amateur contests, you see, in which I'd won, and I was the one that was selected to try to get in the Olympic Games, you see. And to do that, I had to meet the champion in the final. I couldn't have won the match quicker than I did. It was under a minute, yes. And I remember it took the referee all he could do to stop laughing, you see.
I bet 10 crowns on the taller of the two. He must be the strongest man in all England.
In Henry VIII, he was supposed to be a very strong man, you see. And Corder's idea was to display his power by arranging a wrestling match. So he had to look for something, and he was told about me, you see. I didn't try to get on films at all.
wrestler who does not pit his whole strength against any man is punished by 30 lashes of the whip.
I know, Your Grace.
I met Corder, who seemed a very pleasant man indeed, and I met Lawton too. The match was arranged with shadows on a wall, you see, and I threw myself across the wall, you see, as though Lawton had thrown me, you see, and they were satisfied with that, you see.
Good work.
But then, after that, I had to go into this other film, Scarlet Pimpernel, you see. And I was in Scarlet Pimpernel. I was Dan Mendoza, who was the famous bare-knuckle fighter, you see. And they arranged a match just to show the express superior, you see. And I did that too, you see. And they were very pleased with my performance there, you see.
When did you begin sculpting?
Sculpting? Well, I did some at the Slade. Drawing is the basis of all the painting and sculpture, you see. Oh, yes. And I was interested in sculpture at that time. And I didn't take to painting, you see. I spent all the time in the sculpture department, you see. And I remember on one occasion I did a portrait of some girl model, and I noticed that people kept coming in to have a look at this portrait I was working on. Finally, Tonks came, and he looked at it, and then went out, you see. And I'm very self-critical of my work, you see. And one day I came, I looked at this before it had been cast into plaster from clay, you see. And I didn't like it, and I destroyed it. The next day, Tonks came to have another look at it. And he was told that I destroyed it. Oh, what he didn't say to me, my goodness. I felt about a quarter of an inch tall, you know. But that's my nature. If I'm not satisfied, I'll destroy what I've done. You see, I've destroyed. I'm sorry, I have destroyed some things I can remember doing, but I think I'd rather be more critical, self-critical, than less, you see. There were four of us: Epstein, Gill, Moore and myself. I was the youngest, of course, of all of them. They were building a new building, something to do with the railway, underground. And we were allowed to do a carving on this building. And later on, the same architect had to build the new Daily Telegraph building in Fleet Street, is it? Yes. And I remember 2 or 3 of us were asked to give a suggestion of what would be a good carving on this building. And mine was the one that was accepted. I told the architect, to me, the newspaper is the link between the past and the future. And he accepted my idea of all of them, and I have a photograph in the room. Eisenstein, the famous Russian film director, he came to London round about that time, and he came with his comrades to see on the Daily Telegraph.
If Sam Rabin regards Villette as the major influence on his work, that is exactly how his own students now regard him. At Goldsmiths College London and later at Bournemouth, he established himself as one of the great teachers of drawing this century.
He talked like an athlete. He was a butch teacher. He taught you how to draw like an architect. He knew how the body was distributed. He knew how the weight was distributed because he'd boxed, because he'd wrestled. And he talked in practical terms. The trouble was, it was so dismaying when you'd struggle for an hour with a figure and he'd get his massive hand, and he always used a carpenter's pencil. And he'd say, no, look here, Colin, this is how it goes. And he'd and then move on to the next one. You could pick it up and sit it beside you. A remarkable man.
Unlike other teachers who might tell the student how to do it, or perhaps show drawings of the old masters, slides of old master paintings and so on. So Rabin builds up a personal relationship with each of his students, and sometimes in the class he may produce up to 30 figure drawings on his various students' paper.
I followed Villette's example for this reason. He undertook the post of teaching on one condition, which was that he didn't talk, but he demonstrated. One drawing by Villette was worth 3 hours talking, see. If I draw a vertical line down there, somewhere along that line is that point. Now, if the weight is more on one leg than the other, what happens? What direction do the hips take? Let me get that foot there. The other side is lower in relation to that one. If the knee on that leg is about there, that's important. There's more weight on that leg than the other, isn't there? Mm-hmm. So you've got to decide if this one is relaxed, how much lower it is than the other one. Mm-hmm. See, there's no indication of that. You've drawn. You see? So that's the kind of thing you've got to concentrate on in figure drawing. Action studies, I'm used to that, you see. That's the whole point of drawing, you see, figure drawing. Over the past, people who've written about my work have described the patterns I make out of the ropes of the ring, you see. That doesn't... People who have made boxing pictures, one famous American, he's famous for his boxing pictures, but it's always two men hitting each other, you see, and things like that. That's just one aspect of it, you see. And the ring, the ropes, all can make a very interesting design, you see. It occurred to me that I would find it an interesting subject.
Do you never get tired of it, or is there always endless variations?
Oh, good heaven. Look, you've only got to see this thing here, which I use as a basis, because I get an idea of perspective from it. You see it from 1,000 different views, you see. Oh, Lord, yeah. And you visualise somebody standing here or there. And in some of my drawings, you see, you get part of a ring and perhaps the head of a man who's lying down, just the head. You don't have to see him knocked down, you know what's happened, you see. And that is, to me, the interest of the subject, you see, to suggest something like that, you see. And I found it, as a subject, quite inexhaustible.
Are those your chalks over there?
We have made all those, yes. I found how to make them. Because I found that most of the colours I can buy, these crayons, they don't satisfy me as these do, you see.
You can't mix crayons the way you can mix paint, surely. Doesn't it,
yes,
it limit your...
No, on the contrary. There are any number of colours under this area already, you see. There's red and there's blue and there's all sorts. That's all right for the moment, you see, but that's just the basis. Then if I want to suggest in the atmosphere the various colours that go to makeup, that's a bit too dark, so I'll get very gently, I'll use a white over that, without losing the colours that I've used underneath, and then I'll do that. It isn't a flat colour, you see, it's full of variation. Do you follow?
Yes.
You see, there are all sorts of colours underneath that. I think my colours, the ones I make, will last longer than oil paint, you know.
What do you feel in general that you make of opportunities in your life? Do you always make the best of opportunities?
No, I didn't. No, unfortunately. No, I didn't. I've been very bad from that point of view. Oh my goodness, yes.
Anyway, it's wonderful to be here and see Sam being celebrated in his hometown, and not too late, I can tell you that. I hope you all enjoyed, and congratulations to the old maestro.
Passai della prima gioventù. Non trovo più, non trovo, non trovo, non trovo. True.